What's going on, everyone? It's LFC Transfer Room here, and Liverpool have just gone 4 points clear at the top of the league, beating Luton 4-1. I think it's fair to say it was a game of two halves, really, where first half we were really wasteful, created some good opportunities, and probably deserved to go in 1-0 down at the half. And then second half, we really turned it up, and some players really sort of were quite impressive in that second half when they really took control of the game. Now, going to get some more people joining us soon, but we're just going to start with myself and with you guys and just sort of have a bit of a discussion about what we thought was good, what we thought was bad, where we think Liverpool could improve, and what we need to do more to control these types of games so that we're not going in behind and struggling and all those elements that we seem to be doing quite a lot recently. Now, I think in the first half, it's fair to say we got ourselves in some good positions, but we left ourselves quite open, in my opinion. I think so many times we found ourselves open to the counter-attack, and it's probably just an insight to the way that Liverpool probably defend. We put a lot of confidence, a lot of trust in one-on-one type defending. And when we do that, we create opportunities for the opposition to counter-attack us quite aggressively. And I think that's what happened in the first half. I think Luis Diaz probably should have scored one. I think the first one, it's all right that he missed. I think the second one, he probably should have scored that. But when you start to think about him not working the keeper, us not taking the advantage of the pressure, I think Harvey Elliott's delivery in the first half was good, but I think his general gameplay probably wasn't to the standard that we're used to seeing from Elliott. So there's some elements that were good and there's some elements that were bad. Now, I'm trying to think if anyone really came out in the first half and we were like, oh, they had a really good first half. I think probably only McAllister had a really good first half. But in the second half, after Verge got that goal, I think suddenly the entire team just seemed to jump all over it. And yeah, it was a real captain's performance for me today. I think that's one of the real benefits. If you've got no Alisson, you've got no Trent, you've got no Salah, like a real leader stepped forward in Verge. I think it was probably one of his better leadership performances, which is when we needed him. He absolutely bossed it. Gary, Tally Ho, Old Bean. I think we've got Paul Lindo ready to join us now, so I'm just going to throw him in the room so that you're not just having to listen to my craziness. But you know, who impressed you in the first half? Who do you think could have done better in the second half? Give me an idea in the comments as to what you thought. Paul, what about for you? Who impressed you in the first half, if anyone?
The first half was kind of a mixed bag. I think Verge had a good game, both first half and second half. It's kind of hard to blame him for the goal. That goal, Alisson saved it if he was playing. McAllister had a good game. Lucho had an up and down. He was wasteful in the first half. He was much sharper in the second.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a mixed bag. That first half, there was no lack of effort, but it's just that the players didn't seem like they know exactly what they were doing. So the through balls were either a little bit too short, a little bit too heavy. So we were quite wasteful. So I can just imagine how angry the gaffer was at halftime. So they really came out with fire in the belly in the second half. So it's typical Liverpool, you know. I was a little bit worried just this time around because Luton was playing good football, and our bench, we didn't have any game changer on the bench. Yeah. But all in all, the second half was one-way traffic. And kicking to that end of the pitch where we're so famous, the cup end, I think we could not have asked for a better second half. But it's kind of hard for me to give you a name for the first half because nobody really stood out.
No, I'm kind of with you there, and I think everyone was trying, but it just didn't seem to stick. And then obviously, we'll jump into the second half soon. It's where everything sort of went wrong. And I'm with you as well. I think Alisson probably stops. I don't blame Kelleher for the first goal because it just bounced off him and it happened.
Right.
But I think Alisson always stops those. They don't stay in the line of play. They either go out of play or he catches it and blocks it completely. And that's just world's best goalkeeper versus second best goalkeeper, second best goalkeeper in the league. I think Kelleher is, but he's not going to be as good as Alisson, and we shouldn't expect that. Second half, though, I was saying at the start, I think it was a real captain's performance for me. I think it was a real defining game for Verge as a captain for me, because the attackers weren't firing, and that's a problem that we rarely have. And then in this, the attackers weren't firing, so he took it on himself, got himself free, slammed in a great header, and it just kind of clicked everything into gear, and then momentum went our way. And I think just as a leader, he needed that type of... I know we've come back from behind loads of times, but he needed that, for me, when we didn't have all the stars and he was the only real big star on the stage.
Yes, and that first goal too was also very timely. Another 5-7 minutes, and we're still down 1-0. Then the nerves would have started to show. The crowd would have gotten restless. The bench, everybody. Now that goal, that torn header, and that goal, it not only affect us positively, but you could see it broke the spirit of Luton Town defenders. So when stuff like that happens, it's not surprising that there's another goal very quickly, because they are saying, oh, we have defended so well for 60 minutes, and now we're even. What's going to happen? So Verge was definitely man of the match, because one thing I noticed too, if you remember the goal that he gave away against Arsenal when the mix-up between him and Alisson, this time he was determined not to let that happen again. So anytime the ball was bobbling about, he just kick it out. So it was a commanding performance by Verge. Quanta was okay as well. I don't know why we didn't play Konate, but Quanta was good as well. So, and then also I think Luton Town sat back a little bit in the second half and allowed us to dominate possession. But that helped. But still, there are a lot of times we are playing against low block teams and we struggle to break them down. So going in halftime 1-0, we were, I was expecting them to come out and again go into that low block style. So the fact that we were able to break them down and score 4 goals and could have scored a couple more because the keeper made some really smart saves. It just shows that, under no circumstances were we going to drop points at Anfield against these teams. So, now it's over to City and Arsenal.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing I was really nervous about in the second half, once we started the pressing and stuff like that, is I can't remember his name. I want to say it's Obona, but I don't think it is. It's something or other. The Luton winger had so much pace, like he could burn. And Gomez isn't a slow player by any chance, but their right winger against Gomez just seemed to burn past him with ease. And not for anything other than the guy's so quick. And that was the only thing they had. If that ball got blocked, which I think Gomez did a lot better in the second half of blocking any attack that came down that side, it just stopped them from getting out. And once we blocked that avenue, that's where the counter press and everything like that just got so aggressive, so relentless that we just, I mean, they were definitely going to lose from that point for me.
And what I noticed too is that so Arsenal just conceded a goal in 90th in injury time. What I noticed too was that Endo was always very close to the best player on Luton team. What's his name? This England midfielder, former English midfielder. He played for Chelsea.
Ross Barkley.
Barkley, yes. Because he was the one guy that I feared. And Endo was right at his hip pocket for the entire game. So, I think we deserve this win. We had we had 7 of our best 11 missing, including Alisson. So, I mean, Luton Town, they are a bottom 3 team, but we all know that they can play good football. So it was a gutsy win. We just kept at it, and even when we went 2-1 up, we still kept the pressure on. We didn't sit back and say, let's defend the 2-1. We were just going for more goals. Whoa, that's a good goal. So, all in all, you know what? Get 3 points, and it doesn't appear as if anybody sustained any injuries, which is also a big plus. So, we should have a better squad available for Sunday, because my guess is that Salah and Darwin might be available, and hopefully maybe even Szoboszlai an outside chance. So I think we should have enough to beat Chelsea.
One of the things, if you go on Liverpool Twitter, if you go on even if you're in our WhatsApp group, which is for the stream guests and stuff like that, everyone will tell you Harvey Elliott can't play right wing because he doesn't have the pace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today he played right wing, but he played, especially in the second half, more an inverted right winger. So he almost came from right wing to central midfield, giving Gakpo and Diaz space to run in behind. A bit like what Roberto Firmino used to do, but doing it from the right wing as opposed to doing what Salah does, which is cut in and score. But I think the first half he really struggled because he was trying to do too much. In the second half, he just started to play with arrogance, play with confidence. It was the element that never really sort of worked for Curtis Jones until he started to just believe that he should be the one dictating play. Each of our front three scored today. So that's a goal for Elliott, Gakpo, and Diaz. For a front three that most people would say is, not necessarily our first front three. Maybe Diaz is. Maybe people go with Jota. So of our three front threes, which is Harvey Elliott, Gakpo, Diaz, and then you've got Jota, Nunes, Salah. We have 6 players that can score goals, regardless of who's playing. It's a lovely problem to have, Paul, isn't it?
It is. It is. I am one of those who also agree that right wing is not the best position for
Elliott.
Elliott. He is probably one of the slowest players on the team. But apart from that, yes, he's small, which is, Salah is not exactly a monster, but he's also quite weak. He gets brushed off the ball too easily. So I think his best position is in the midfield on that right side. So when he inverts or drop into that little space, so it's right behind the 6-yard box on the right side, where he can curl the ball on his left foot like for his goal. That is his best position. I know we have to use him at right wing occasionally when we, like today when we don't have a choice. But Harvey will always just, at least for the next couple of years, just be a nice squad player to come off the bench. He is not a right winger. He can go there occasionally, but I don't think Harvey's a right winger at all. I think he is way too slow and too weak.
I'm not with this. I'm on the side, Paul, because people would say David Silva's too weak and too slow. People would say Bernardo Silva's too weak and too slow. And what we saw in the second half today was, if you think about his right-hand side triangle, because that's how Liverpool function, they've got a triangle on the right, triangle on the left, and then you core. You had McAllister, Bradley, and Elliott. And with the level of intelligence McAllister's got and with the level of energy Bradley's got, it allowed Elliott to find space, and then Gakpo could come across and run channels and stuff like that. I think tactically it would make us a very, very different team if we played Elliott as a right winger, because he almost, you stop your inversion from your fullback and you start your inversion from your winger. But he's very, very young. And
yes, I give him that.
I think in these types of positions where we're talking about a right winger that's dictating and controlling play, like a Bernardo Silva, a David Silva, those types of small, weaker wingers, experience is key. You need the intelligence to gain intelligence. But I think he's showing there's something there. I'm not saying that we if Salah goes, we should play Elliott there, because I'm not necessarily on that board. But I think there's something there to be explored for me. I'm not writing off that he shouldn't play right.
No, he's a good player. As I said, he has an eye for goal. He has a decent left foot, and his right foot is okay, for a weaker foot. He's one of the better weaker foot player in the squad. But I am just not convinced when he's on the right hand side out wide. I like him just inside, just behind the striker on the right side. But again, days like today when we need him, of course he's a good option. He's not the first option, but he's a good option. He's a guy that gives his heart for Liverpool.
Yeah.
So I like him. But the point I'm trying to make is there are people who would suggest that if Salah leaves, that he is the replacement for Salah in that 4-3-3 formation. And I am not one of those people. If we're going to use Harvey, I think a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1 formation would be better if we don't have a front three and he's part of that attacking trio. But again, the guy pops up and scores some important goals for us every now and then. So I guess we just have to just love him. We can't criticize him too much, especially on a day like today when we needed him. He put in a good shift, score a decent goal, and he was active. And one thing I like about him, out of possession, he's a very good presser. He's active. So, I mean, he's a very important player for us going forward.
I think he's 20, and if we think Curtis Jones has just matured into his position really and claimed it this year, and he's 24 or 23?
23, I think. 23, 24, somewhere there, yeah.
So right now, I think all Liverpool fans can agree what Harvey Elliott's best position is coming off the bench, making an impact in the game in the right hand, right central midfielder, left central, like coming on and making an impact in the game. That is exactly where he should be used, and that's exactly where he's being used. But I think today he showed there's something there. Like maybe as a central midfielder, maybe he's a tactically versatile player who we can put anywhere in the front six, front five, not defensive midfielder, front five. But what really impressed me today was the level of arrogance on the ball he had in the second half to control the game, to not be scared by the occasion, by not be scared by the responsibility, and actually take control of the circumstance and take the ball in difficult situations and dictate what was going to happen. And he did appear on the left and on the right and in the middle. And I think that's what shows me Harvey Elliott's going to make it probably at Liverpool Football Club. And he looks like a legitimate top talent. Now, we will debate until the cows come home where his final position will be until he claims it, because he has to claim it. Like Curtis Jones has claimed left central midfielder. He needs to find a position in this Liverpool team, and he needs to claim it and take it from somebody.
Yeah, and I think you will. And remember, every team needs a player who is versatile, a player that can play, doesn't really have a full spot, but can deputize, across the front three. He can deputize anywhere in the midfield. He can come on, late in the game when we need a spark. So he is that player. So I think he has a definite future at Liverpool. Just like Gravenberch, even though, I don't know, guy just continued to frustrate me. He had a good game on the weekend, and I was saying, okay, today Gravenberch, today is your chance to take this opportunity and run with it, And I think he was, not very good today. I think he was the weakest of the forward players in terms of performance today. You can see the guy has talent, but I don't know.
I think he needs a summer in the gym. I think he needs a summer building his body for the Premier League. Because he's come from, and he's a very slight. He's 21. So he's very, very young, and I don't think he's claimed his place yet. But I also think that when you look at how these young 20-year-olds come in, you look at Dan's, looks a legit player, and I completely agree. But compare Dan's to Kwanzaa's got a man's body, he's ready to compete, he's ready to fight. I think Dan's and Gravenberch probably have a lot slighter builds and probably are not. Now, Harvey Elliott, I don't expect to bulk up massively or anything like that. I expect him to get a bit more bulk on him. But Gravenberch can really build into his frame a lot more, I think, and be a lot more powerful. I'm not like Cody Gakpo level powerful. I'm not expecting him to turn into Kondogbia or anything like that. But I think there's some Premier League adaptation that he needs to make to his body to be a little bit more robust, Gravenberch, for me.
Because he's what? He's like 6'2", 6'3". He's a big guy, right? He's about 6'2", 6'3". He's tall.
But very lean.
Yeah, true.
Gakpo's 6'3", and if he was Gakpo's width, I think he'd deal a lot more with it. And I think that's just an experience thing, and I think it's an age thing. I think he just needs to build into his body a little bit more because people develop at different rates. Wayne Rooney was a full-grown 40-year-old man by the time of 17, wasn't he?
Right.
So that's my hope for Gravenberch anyway. You never know. He may stay lean and he may continue to be a lean footballer forever. But I think a bit more muscle, a bit more Premier League.
I think we have some serious talent in around the squad, though.
Yeah.
Because to have 7 players missing, and we put on a performance like this, especially in the second half, and then we have people like, well, I'm not gonna say his name again, but Thiago may have another 5 minutes before the end of this season. Hopefully, and we have Stefan Bajcetic, who is was given this year off, so expect to see him, rival Endo at the 6th next year. I think the future is decent.
Look at the team today, and I'm going to get these ages wrong. Thankfully, Helios not in the chat to call me out, but Kelleher, early mid-20s, Bradley 20, Kwanzaa 20, Van Dijk 32, Gomez 26, McAllister 24, Endo 30, Gravenberch 21, Elliott 20, Gakpo 25, I think. Luis Diaz 25, I think.
26, I think, for Lucho. Elliott is 20.
You're talking what? 9 of our 11 starters are mid to early 20s. So have 4 to 5 years at the top of the game. Their peak years to come. You'd say Gakpo, Diaz, Joe Gomez, McAllister are coming into peak, but they're not at peak. Whereas Endo, Van Dijk are in, Van Dijk's probably coming towards the end of his peak and Endo's in his peak. Probably 32's about the end of your peak. So that's mental. This is a scratch squad supposedly. And we always, I'm included in this, worried about, the next 2 or 3 players that we should bring in transfers. So I'm sitting here and looking at the squad, including the 7 to 10 players that are possible first teamers that are not available. Assuming everybody gets fit during the off season, what's your thoughts? How many players do we need to bring in terms of transfers? 1, 2 maybe? And what spot? Assuming Mosala stays, of course. Yeah, so this is the thing for me. If you ask, again, our chat, so I appreciate a lot of you out in our chat, but you'll have heard us talk about it on stream quite a lot. If you go on us, they want a left-footed centre-back. Why? Why does there need to be left-footed for me? And that's one of the things everyone, you need a left-footed centre. Why do we need a left-footed centre-back? If you think, now left-footed, so it's better to be a right-footed left centre-back so you can block it a little bit. And who's going to come in to play 20% of games because Van Dijk's going to play 80%? You might as well have Kwanzaa coming through. Joe Gomez as backup. Joe Gomez has probably become the most versatile player in our defensive squad because he can play centre-back, left-back and right-back. And that's what Harvey Elliott's got to ensure that he doesn't turn into. He doesn't want to be the player that plugs every gap and never holds down a position. Anyway, so for me, I think you're talking really about succession planning for the long term. So you'd probably, if you were to sign someone, you'd be thinking about a long-term replacement for Salah. So you might bring in a 19, 20-year-old like Bakayoko, something like that, succession planning. Right. And then the other thing you might do is bring in another defensive midfielder, mid-20s, who can potentially take over from Endo, and
But
give
isn't
Bajcetic
Stefan?
time to develop further and some time off, because he's 18 and he's going through a long injury. That could be a long road back to recovery, and you kind of don't want to flood him with games. So you might bring in that type of player. That's it in terms of what I think we would need.
Because I think that Gavin Birch is really the replacement for Thiago. Well, we might need two centre backs because I don't think we're going to re-sign Matip.
But we've got 4 and Joe Gomez.
We got 3 with Joe Gomez.
3 with Konate, Kwanzaa, Van Dijk.
Yeah, that's
Joe Gomez is 4. Yeah, so you might bring in a 4th.
Right. So I think we have a very good team. I mean, we just need to get a proper manager to replace Klopp. I've been seeing some stuff all morning that Xabi Alonso is going to Bayern Munich, but I guess we talk about that another time.
I mean, I'm staying in the good mood of us winning.
Let's just enjoy this 4-1 and
all I'll say on if Xabi Alonso ends up choosing us with the Bayern as an option, he's going to get so much more grace from Liverpool fans now. So I think if we do end up with him in the world of positivity, the fact that he's chose us over being able to go to Bayern, if that's what happens, will give him a full season of grace without any disconcerting voices. He probably gets a full season and half a next season, as opposed to if we're having a really bad first season, everyone we're like, well, turns out it's just a one-off year and stuff like that. I think that potentially is just another positive reason to get him. But let's get back to the game. Luis Diaz had a weird game today for me. I think he was really sort of wasteful in the first half. And not wasteful in the sense of, I don't blame him for missing the first one. I think the second one, he should have worked the keeper. But in the second half, he was so much more aggressive and taking his shots immediately as opposed to taking a touch. It seemed like a switch went off in him because he suddenly turned into that aggressive player that, and he was fighting with the defenders and he was playing with the defenders. The second half, Luis Diaz is the Diaz that we're going to need in the cup final and the games to come. Because Salah's not going to be 100%. Nunes obviously isn't at 100%. And a Diaz like that is a focus of everyone will focus on trying to deal with Diaz and fighting with Diaz. And that just gives Gakpo and Elliott or Gakpo and Nunes or Gakpo and, well, it's not going to be Jota probably, space. I was really, really impressed with the second half performance of Diaz. I think he really sort of took responsibility for the attack, which is what he should have done in the first half. I think he was trying to be too clever in the first half and just dribble with it and not attack.
There's a big difference between the first and the second half. And again, I want to give a big shout out to the manager. I don't think I've never seen another manager in football in all of my years watching the game that is as good at making adjustments, as good at getting his players to change a game in the second half as Jurgen Klopp. You could see him sprinting to the dressing room the moment the whistle blow for halftime, and can just imagine from afar that he was in Luis Diaz's ears. I said, man, this is what you need to do. In Cody's ears, I said, this is what I need you to do in everybody, because you could see the noticeable difference from everybody on the pitch from the moment the second half kicked off. So Diaz has been having some of this weird game. I think he has changed a little bit because when he just came to Liverpool, he was more of a traditional winger, more of a Martinelli type, who is very quick, who would go down the byline and cut in. Now I think he's cutting in too early. It's like he doesn't, I don't know. I'm not sure if he doesn't have this speed to take on fullbacks, or he just want to cut in on the right foot too early and make the game a little bit too narrow for me. But then he always popped in with goals, important goals. So it's kind of hard to criticize him. So it's just we just have we have 5 talented front players. So I don't want to criticize him too much. There was a drop off in form in the last month or so. I attribute that to when he had his problem with his parents. But his second half was way different from his first half today.
And I think a little bit like, I think I've said this on stream before. Verge took a year to get back from his serious knee injury.
Mm-hmm.
Diaz has only come back this year from his serious knee injury. So if it took Van Dijk a year to get back to full fitness and full attack mode, it took Gomez a year to get back from his injury, like knee injury, to full attack mode. And, look at how they're both playing this year. We need to give Diaz the benefit of the doubt this year. He's still making a positive impact to this team.
Yes,
but
that's for sure.
He may not be trusting his body to sprint the same, to attack the same, to dribble the same. Things aren't as much muscle memory when you've not been running and sprinting and dribbling for a full year. So I think we need to give him a little bit of space. But from what I saw in the second half today, I'm like, it's there. And that player we got when we were on for the quad last time, who came in January and just ripped apart the league, is there because we saw it today. And we just need to carry on pushing it out.
And you know what, too? To be fair, to play for Liverpool at this breakneck speed that Klopp demands day after day, year after year, there's gonna come a time when it catch up with your body, and that is why Salah is just a specimen, because Salah's been doing this for so many years, and the guy's just made of steel. So, but not everybody can join a team like Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp style and run relentlessly for 4 years, without breaking down. So I guess we might be a little bit too harsh, and some of the players, So, but Liverpool need to stop doing this to me, though. Giving up this first goal, and stressing us out half time, missing shots, and I say, oh Lord, this is gonna be one of those days. Because remember, I don't know if you remember, but the last time we lost a game at Anfield in the Premier League, it was a game that we were heavy favorite, and we lost to Leeds United. That's our last loss, I think, at Anfield in the Premier League. And it was one of those games where we dominated, and somehow we lost. I think we lost 2-1. So I'm just thinking, am I going to be embarrassed when I go for drinks with my friends later and we lost to Luton Town at Anfield? So I was kind of nervous. I'm not going to lie.
I was nervous at half time. Something didn't feel right.
Right. And why I was nervous, as I said, is normally when something doesn't feel right, you know that the manager can make changes. But when I look at the bench, I said the only person on the bench who we had on the bench that had experience, Robertson and Konate. That's it. So, it was, but we did it. So we can relax and then think about Chelsea and Sunday.
Right, we're going to finish the stream with this question, and this is also a question for chat, so please put it in the chat, which is top 3 players for the game today. Who are your top 3 players? Who are you most impressed with? Who do you think had the best game? Who do you think? So instead of just man of the match, because I think we both agreed Virgil van Dijk for me was man of the match, and I think you said he was man of the match for you as well, Paul. So who are your top 3 players for the game? So Paul, let's start with you. Who have you gone for?
I've gone for number 2. So VVD number 1. Number 2, I like the game that McAllister played in midfield today. I think he was his usual efficient self. So Maka was pretty good today. Other than that, it's going to be between Cody and Lucho for the third spot. But Lucho had a very average first half, so I probably give Cody the number 3 spot. What about you?
So my number 1's the same, Verge, and then 2's McAllister. My number 3, interestingly, I've gone for Conor Bradley, because I think his inversion today and the way that he inverted himself and started to play, I think he started to play a more tactically advanced role for Klopp than just the young just go up and down. I think today we saw him coming in, getting at the edge of the box, moving the play. I don't think he did it perfectly. I think he lost the ball in a few situations. He won the ball in a few situations. His high press was good in a few situations. But I think we saw him today take a tactical progression and not fail. Because he still got back into his defensive position. He still got back and stopped things. It's just he lost the ball a few times and he lost a few high press tackles. But you'd expect that. And I think for me, seeing him evolve tactically and it be successful is why I put him third, because I think it was a big step forward for him. Because it also meant Kwanzaa was more exposed because obviously Bradley was forward. And that level of confidence, you've got two youth players on the entire right-hand side of our defence, and it worked perfectly. So yeah, I went for Connor as my third. I can see the logic of Gakpo and Diaz. It's just I don't think Cody made a mistake in the first half that cost us anything. Connor made a mistake, sorry, and I think both Cody and Diaz were wasteful in the first half, which is why I went for Bradley.
Yeah, you could also my honorable mention though would be Kwanzaa. There was nothing unreal or no moments where you can say wow, but he was very steady. He was in the right position most of the time. He didn't make any mistake.
Yeah.
So when you have a centre half that plays a game, like you hardly notice him. We noticed Verge, and Verge scored a really good goal, but I think Kwanzaa was also decent as well today.
It's crazy, isn't it, how quick a player's come into the starting 11 at 20 years of age, and there's no panic in the fan base or anyone like that because of how he's played. Like, I can't think of anything he did wrong. I can't think of anything that he did particularly right. He was always in the right position. He had a couple of forays forward. A couple were successful, a couple weren't. Same as any, when Matic does it, same as when Konate does it. But there's no panic.
Right.
There was no mistake in him. There's no error in him or anything like that. It's it's a level of maturity that you shouldn't see from a 20-year-old centre back. It was great to see.
The future is bright for him. We were about to where we offered Chelsea a big load of money for Levi Colwill in the off season. I don't see what Colwill have over Kwanzaa other than being left-footed.
No, I think if we'd have ended up with Colville, I reckon Joe Gomez would have been the, because everyone was talking about Joe Gomez being transferred out. I think he would have been the one. And based on this season, I would rather have Joe Gomez than Levi Colville.
Agreed.
So, based on the games that I've seen for both, now I get Gomez has the benefit of Klopp and Levi has the disadvantage of Pochettino and Chelsea, but still, he's part of the culture, Joe Gomez. He's part of the squad. He's been at Liverpool since he was 18 years old, so I would rather him here anyway. So, overall, Liverpool 4, Luton 1, another win, top of the league, 4 points. Another +3 on the goal difference, so it keeps us, ahead of everyone else on goal difference for now. Reasons to be happy.
Happy days. Over to Man City and Arsenal now. Let's hope they drop points before we play on next Premier League game. Let's keep the pressure on.
Everyone's looking forward to cup final. It'd be good to get the first cup under the way, and on the same Sunday, if those two teams can drop some points just to sort of reinforce us being top of the league, what a Sunday that would be. Thank you very much, Paul. This is LFC Transfer Room. If you are new here, please like and subscribe to the channel. We go live normally at 7:30 every day, apart from when we play games, we go live after the game. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and we will catch you on the next one. Take care.